Ready?
All right, the time being 5:30, I'll call the August 10th, 2021 meeting of the Tilton Northfield Fire and EMS Board of Commissioners to order. First up, public comment. Members of the district, employees of the district. We have 2 members of the public here. Are they here for that?
I'm here to listen.
Okay.
I'm interested in what happens with the fire station committee.
Okay. So it's a little further down the agenda. So. Members of the district, any employees of the district? No, all right. Correspondence, Northfield Board of Selectmen. That was the letter that we received about our attending their meeting on June 1st. Was it June 1st?
It was on June 1st.
Yep.
In regards to Lakeshore Mutual Fire Aid.
Yes.
Yes.
And they're looking for an answer response.
So let's talk about it. The question they asked is if the fire district would become the member of the Lakes Region Mutual Fire Aid, this is LRMA,
Yes.
in place of the town of Tilton, are the commissioners interested in doing this? The response was that you would take this back to the board and discuss this at a future meeting. As of the date of this letter, which was July 20th, they haven't heard back from us. So I'll bring it to the floor for discussion.
So a concern with this is if the district would probably need both Tilton and Northfield to step down kind of so that the fire district could pick up the one role. Otherwise, it's a dual hat. I mean,
It is a dual hat. One of my thoughts wasn't there a discussion of if each town gave the invoice to the district?
There was discussion about that.
What would that?
well, at that point, would the costs go up? The cumulative.
I don't remember off the top of my head which of the.
So if everything remained the same except that the bill was being paid by the fire district, the net effect would be that those bills would be absorbed into the operating budget of the fire district, and the money going out would be assessed per the fire district's rate that year.
Which is roughly 40-60,
It's in the
Yeah.
area. Yeah.
roughly.
For Northfield's based on evaluation.
Our formula is just based strictly on the assessed valuation.
And we still have the two people on the, or just one?
Well,
Only one.
Right now,
Representative.
Tilton
I
has
know
a
we only have one now.
representative, and Northfield has a representative.
We do now.
There's nobody representing Northfield.
That's right, but we still have two if we did that, just one then.
No, we'd still have two,
Or we-
because the towns are still receiving the bill, but then the fire district would be paying the bill.
I see,
If
okay.
that's the way,
So it would still be a representative from each town, okay.
yes.
so essentially, if we were to invoice it out to the towns, it would, all the dollars roughly would be about the same, up and down based on the adjustment. But it would be kind of based on what, so similar to equivalent to what Tilton's paying now, and what Northfield's paying now, it's just the owner or the,
So the towns would still be the representatives. The fire district would just pay the town's bills if that were the case.
So whoever gets the bills in Tilton and Northfield would send them off to the fire district, and the fire district would pay.
so it's just moving it from a line of county from a town to the fire district.
So it's not, I don't think that's what it's gonna, they want it to do though.
The net effect of that would be that Tilton would, you take those two bills, you add them together, Tilton would be paying about 60% of that bill, and Northfield would be paying about 40%.
If you did it that way.
Yep.
So currently it's about 50 and 50? Or,
Yeah, it's, their bills are not too far apart.
I think Northfield was slightly higher, wasn't it? Like
Yeah,
about
they're
800.
43,000 and change, and Tilton's was 42 and change, but about a few $100s apart.
Something like $800 somewhere. But then if you did that, if you did it based on the formula, it would lower Northfield's overall cost. And it
Yes.
would increase Tilton's overall cost. Based on the current formula. Is that redone every year, or no, that's just based on evaluation, so?
So our formula is based on evaluation solely. The formula for Lakes Region Mutual Fire Rate is based on evaluation, population, and then there's a 10% fixed factor.
Kind of a catch-22. Is Northfield interested in having someone be on the seat?
I don't know.
Can we find that out? Send a letter to the town of Northfield to find out, do they, what is their intent? Do they want a seat? Do they not want the seat? You're taking the burden of the bill and you're moving it from
Yeah.
one part of the district to another part of the district.
right. So, I mean, and I could just see that one town pushing back saying they're not gonna take that increase. So it would have to be a mutual agreed upon between the two towns.
I thought it was up to the town, I thought it was up to them,
So the contract between Lakes Region Mutual Fire Rate is with the municipalities, it's not with the fire
well,
district.
that's what I mean, yes.
So they could choose to come out of it entirely, but then that's where it becomes a nightmare for operations
I understand.
and all that if,
Yeah, I
if both
understand.
entities aren't in it.
Yeah.
And I don't think the impression I got is they don't want to leave it, they just don't want to be paying the bill. I mean, you know, I think they still would want the town of Northfield to be part of Lakes Region Mutual Fire Rate through the district. They want it to be through the district, where right now it's the town of Northfield. They
So
want-
what's the possible consequences on the town of Tilton, that they're now gonna be paying a higher percentage?
Yeah, I mean, basically that's what it comes down to. They may not want to be a separate member. They may not want they may still want to be a member as the town, being, one seat. Northfield could still be the member, but the district pays the bill. Again, the town of Tilton would still have to pay that, or you just make that, but then Northfield would have to apply to, would it apply or signify that they are looking to withdraw from the district, which is about 180-day notice.
You need a 180-day notice. So for anyone to withdraw from from the 2022 calendar year from Lakes Region Mutual Fire Aid would have had to notify Lakes Region by letter by July 1st on June 30th. I forget which day it is, but one of those days. If they have not received, if Lakes Region hasn't received a letter, the municipality is still liable for the bill for 2022.
And then Tilton would have to notify Lakes Region Mutual Fire that they wish to withdraw and then place it on the district. If I follow in the.
If the fire district were to become the member, both municipalities would have to notify Lakes Region Mutual Fire Aid of their intent to withdraw, and that probably in a letter, joint mutual letter would probably be better, and that the intent of the municipalities was for the fire district to become the member. They should notify that, I would say, in a cooperative letter, so that it would be very clear to the fire district, because the fire district would then have to be allowed to become a member. I don't see that as being a problem, but it still would have to be a vote of the board of directors of Lakes Region Mutual Fire Aid, which is all the member communities have a seat on the board of directors.
And if I remember right, he said when you do that, if we become a one member, it's gonna affect everybody.
It does. That 10% fixed factor would be adjusted by a number, and every other municipality or every other member of the Lakes Region Municipal Fire Aid would have to pay a little bit more than what they're paying now.
So they would have to go, it would be spread out over 34 versus 35,
That's
whatever the fixed cost is.
That's correct.
So I think we have to find out from the,
Wasn't this brought up before voters several years ago?
I don't remember.
I think it was discussed. I don't
And
recall
shot
it.
down.
Yeah, I don't recall the details though.
yeah, would each, who makes the decision? Is it the voters or is it the board of selectmen for each town?
The board of selectmen for each town would be making the decision. So if, my recommendation would be for the board of selectmen of both towns to sit down and meet and discuss the issue and see if they can come to an agreement.
Kind of what I was thinking.
So currently we're trapped into the 2022 year right now.
Yes.
So this would be for 2023.
You can withdraw early, but you're still going to be liable for the payment.
So technically, I mean, it's not really up to us, it's whatever the town wants, I mean, the selectmen want.
I mean, we'll have to pick up the pieces, whatever it is, but if only one entity stays within and the other one goes without, that's gonna cause a lot of response and dispatching issues.
Yes, it would.
Nightmare.
Yes.
Wasn't there a discussion of, God, I can't remember his name, Chief Gold.
Chief Goldman.
Chief Goldman, and I don't know if it was at his presentation to the Northfield Board of Selectmen or the Tilton Board of Selectmen, but there would be an additional cost incurred for the radio project that they've done.
Yes, so there was an assessment placed on all the communities for the new communication system that was installed. And the first 2 years of that assessment has been taken out of the capital reserve fund as the plan, of a part of a 7-year plan to pay off that, which was voted by the board of directors on how to pay it off. So the third year, in 2022, is the first year where the assessment will be placed on the communities. If somebody were to withdraw early, that community is still responsible for the full payment of their assessment, whether they're in or out.
So how much would that assessment be?
I think the total assessment over the course of, it's somewhere around $25,000 or $27,000 for each community share of the communication system.
So that would be an additional $27,000 incurred by Northfield and then incurred by Tilton.
If they would withdraw, yes. Yep.
But if they don't withdraw, then there's no, that's not an incurred cost.
No, it's just part of their bill.
because I'd like to see that and what the actual cost would be to that, because I want to say it was mentioned in Tilton and not in Northfield.
I don't
I
recall.
don't, because I remember hearing it it wasn't at this presentation, I just don't remember. I don't know if you heard it at the Northfield board when they made that presentation or not. So,
The chief brought it up the last time you guys talked about this.
no, I know, but there were, I remember that when Chief Goldman mentioned the fee for the radio project, the assessment, I remember that one, I don't remember hearing that at his last one, so that was,
Yeah, I think it was at the Tilton one,
yeah, I don't remember it being at the Northfield one.
because I sat in on the Tilton one.
Yep. So I guess I would want to make sure that each town is aware of what the cost, that cost is in their decisions. There's going to be a special assessment of X amount of dollars. I'd like to be able to see what the cost is if they just pay. I guess there's three scenarios. If they send their bills to the district, what that cost is going to be. And then if one town withdraws and the other doesn't, what that cost is going to be.
So if a town doesn't withdraw,
Right.
there is no additional.
There's no assessment.
They still have to pay an assessment, but it is absorbed into the bill or as it stands now. The Board of Directors for Lakes Region Mutual Fire Aid are still looking at ways to reduce that assessment. But the assessment payments, but the assessments would still stand. If a municipality were to withdraw, they still have to pay the assessment. If they withdraw early, they have to pay the fee for that year, whether they're in it or not.
Is it just that year though?
Just the 1 year.
Yeah.
So it's a one-time.
So these, say, for example, if Northfield withdrew now, they would still have to pay their bill for next year, which will probably be in the order of $43,000 or so. Plus, they would have to pay the assessment for the communications system, which I believe is somewhere between $25,000 and $27,000. Then they'd be out.
So really, the Board of Selectmen for each town need to get together.
My impression is that Northfield does not want to use another dispatch.
No, that was my impression as well, but there's a financial cost to each town.
Right, so I think the boards of selectmen should probably sit down and discuss it. Discuss the ramifications of the pros and cons of withdrawing, each of them withdrawing and having the district become a member, the fire district becoming a member, or leaving it as is.
Because I'm not opposed to the district picking up the membership and like the bills or whatever, as long as both are in it. I think that I'd have extreme concerns with one part of the district not in the
Well,
association.
That's my concern.
That's my biggest concern, is the implications in the operations and all that stuff. And so if the two were able to come down to an agreement, they're asking if we'd be willing to pick that up. I personally roll it up into our operational, because then the district is the one on the hook for the two fees, but it's that agreement between the towns on understanding that split.
I mean, it makes sense that it's that. You know, one day it makes sense and the other day I say, you know,
And I respect the additional costs on the Tilton, and that's why the two towns should talk about that, because there is a shift in cost.
yeah.
I mean, we're representing both districts for the overall cost, but how it's split, I mean, I don't wanna,
Well, it's a weird,
it's a weird
it's a
setup.
unique situation. But the closest thing in the mutual fire aid that has
Is up north.
it is up north, and each town is individually
Mhm.
in it.
Right, they don't have a shared district cost.
Right.
I'm texting Chief Goldman now, see if he's got that number up. I'm texting that.
But I guess we have to reach out to town administrator in each town, see if they can get the board of selectmen to meet.
You want to be at that meeting as well,
I'll,
as the commissioners?
I think it's a good idea, although
I don't know what you call it. It's not a joint meeting, oh, it's a joint meeting, I
It
guess.
would be a joint meeting.
yeah, between the three parties.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. All right, I will contact the admins.
Do we need the fourth party involved,
But,
like your mutual fire aid? If there's questions, or can we cover all the questions? It sounds like the information's been out there, but it's just
Yeah.
putting it out there.
I think they all got the same information as just digesting it.
Mhm.
And I think they both had, everyone's had adequate time to digest it and now to make a decision. They're gonna support it, or do they not want it? Do they want to make the change, or do they want to stay status quo?
$25,714 for community.
25 what, 714?
Yeah.
25,714.
And that's the special assessment. All right. I can do that. So Kathy will take care of that.
Yes.
All right. I don't know, did we do it at our meeting or one of their meetings, whichever?
I'll make time for whenever.
Okay.
Because this board meets on Tuesdays, Northfield meets on Tuesdays, and Tilton meets on Thursdays, so. All right. So we will wait until we have a meeting between all three entities.
Okay.
Chief's report.
I sent the report out whenever I sent it out. I wanted to know if you guys had any questions in particular.
I did on the financial. Maybe, I didn't, but I looked at it there. Is this copy different than the one that was included in your report?
I don't think so.
So, I know we received a large legal bill.
Yes.
Now, how come that didn't get, I thought that was for the month of June.
We just received it.
So it doesn't go back in the June, it goes into the month you received it in
Yes.
August or
Yes.
August? Okay.
Okay.
So that's a significantly different number.
Yes, it is.
So. Yeah,
It's just gonna get more and more.
it's not even pretty. looking at ways to cut back in other areas, so.
Yep.
And it seemed like the vehicle maintenance was another one.
So the new engine is, it's getting closer to being finished.
Yeah, I mean, how much we're spending on.
So we're looking at ways to economize any repairs on those vehicles as well.
So I saw that Ladder 1 was out as first response on a few calls. Were both engines down simultaneously? And did we park it outside
Yes.
overnight? I didn't look at the time hack on that,
Yes, yes.
What's that report? I know you sent the report separately, is it in here?
but Ladder 1 was in the response report. I saw it with the apparatus response.
Yeah,
I didn't make a print out.
No,
No, no.
that's 50 pages.
I looked at
At
it.
least.
It was, yeah, 51 or 50. It's 57 pages.
Yeah.
I noted that that was responding first. And I also saw that, yeah, right there. I also saw that we're still sending the engine and the ambulance on a few calls.
Depends upon what the call is, yeah.
Well, I saw the engine respond to a medical call by itself.
It's probably because either one or both the ambulances were already busy.
And there's only one out at the time.
The other
The
one
ambulance
might.
was out of service. The other
Oh,
was out of service.
okay, out of service then, okay. Started going through and looking at where there was the dual calls. And then we had the building fire in Laconia that took the entire crew out of the town.
Should have been one member left.
No, because we had a medical call that we weren't able to respond to.
You didn't have any,
We did.
that might have been when the ambulance was out of service.
Okay,
The latches on the back doors of A2 broke, so we couldn't open up the back doors. So a couple of days ago, those.
yeah, we don't need people rolling out the back.
No. We're being locked inside.
Shoving it through the side door,
It's been done.
I'm sure.
I do appreciate getting this digitally. It was beneficial.
We actually printed the whole thing out.
Yeah.
Killed a couple trees.
I feel a lot more than that at work daily. Yeah, it was on July 11th, because there was a building fire in Laconia, where the deputy and the engine went. And then the Ski Hill Drive started coming in. And that was one where I believe we were not able to put any of our people on the scene.
Yeah, there were,
And
I
I
know
know
for
that-
a fact the ambulance was out of service for that.
I'm sorry, what?
I know for a fact the ambulance was out of service for that.
Yeah. I just know that that's a concern that Paul brings up each month about recovering down, so.
And I do believe one person was still
In town?
in town.
Yes.
He probably was responding with the utility.
We have a call out of town, don't we? I don't know, it's been a long time, but we do not take the mutual aid, I mean, the volunteers with some of the full-timers.
if they're available.
At the station
Yeah.
at the time.
And there was nobody available at the time. I mean, one guy in town is what's big about anything. I mean, you
This
can't.
the summer honestly has been pretty tough. People are away quite a bit, vacationing and camping on the weekends, and it's really hit or miss. We've been fortunate, we've been able to take a couple to a few calls, but on the weekends, like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, it's pretty slim.
Very slim. Not too many people around.
Yeah, the time hack, they wouldn't have been in the station unless they were just hanging out. That's why I kind of like getting this, just so I could digest some of that.
It's safe to say that you pretty much go up to the bike park once a day. It seems, I mean.
We didn't go today.
We had a stretch a couple of weeks where we were going quite a bit with the campers, the kids,
Yeah,
with multiple calls.
because then it always seems like you're transporting the stuff. I mean, do they only call you when it's like they absolutely have to be transported, I'm assuming?
With the kids, we get called a lot because they're kids. The adults, people that ride up there all the time, only call us if it's really
Like they
serious.
got phones sticking out of their leg
Yeah,
or something like
yeah.
that. They just go to flesh wound and
Sometimes put the helmet back on.
well, that's, I mean, it just seems like you're always going up there, like, oh, it's 3 o'clock, I gotta see what's up there. Bike park.
Yeah, it's usually towards the end of the day when everybody's tired.
Yeah,
One more run.
yeah, that's the one you should have done.
So with the budget and stuff, where you talked to, I was looking at some of the things on there and where we're coming to capacity, coming up to our 100% marks. Hose on one of the apparatus and stuff was a significant multi-$1,000s, looking at where you're dealing with the legal bills.
So you're looking, hose comes out of the apparatus
Yeah,
and equipment
it's
fund,
over
so they don't cross paths. You couldn't pay a legal bill out of the apparatus and equipment fund.
Okay, thank you. I wasn't tracking that one, so I appreciate that. Yeah, because that's a 7,300. Just concerned with the legal bills.
So we're cutting back in other areas. There's repairs that need to be made at Center Street that we're not doing. We're gonna wait till next year to do. We're in the middle of the bathroom project at Park Street, so if we're gonna finish that, we're not gonna stop. Additionally, training has been cut way back. And hence the overtime with the training has been cut back. So, and when I ran the report yesterday, the financial report to date, which is a little bit later than this, which includes the bill from the lawyer, we're still okay because of the cutbacks that we made. We'll see what it looks like near the end of the year. So we're managing.
What's also helped is the payment holiday we got from Primex.
Yeah.
How much was that?
17 or 18.
Yeah, on the workers' comp, it was $12,958, and on the property, it's $5,975.59, so yeah.
So,
It's a lawyer
It's
bill.
almost, yeah,
how much was it again on the second one?
$59.75.59. So it, it saved us $18,000, almost $19,000.
I know that one.
Yes, we do.
Now, another one I saw in there, and just refresh my memory. Pressurized hydrants, we paid out already, 65,000?
We have not.
No, no. We've paid.
We've received bills for that.
Okay, here we actually have it shown as paid.
Which would,
Paid.
No, we haven't paid it.
Well, that's why it's highlighted right there.
I don't know why that shows as paid, because it has not been paid.
Okay, all right.
So,
That's
yeah. I
operating
know that's
budget,
there.
page 4 of operating budget,
Page 4,
We haven't, not seen
down
it.
at the bottom.
775.
so
That
there's,
is there because we're on accrual basis, that report, and it shows all the bills we've received, whether they've been paid or not.
Okay,
If we switched it to cash, it would show that it would.
Yes,
okay, all right,
but it wouldn't show bills that are due like tomorrow.
okay, I like that answer.
I had to stop and think for a
yeah,
minute.
Because when I
because
saw
there's
that,
nothing in the budget and.
right,
No, this.
but then I saw that and I wanted to make sure
Yes,
while
because-
everything's pending.
Yeah, it's because it's on the accrual.
Okay,
Barring a court order, or additional action of the district, we cannot pay them.
Correct. Yeah.
Period.
Absolutely. Status of the Park Street, or is that later in the, on the agenda?
Bathroom project?
Nope, tower.
The tower, so
Sorry.
parts for the it was gonna be part of my project on the report, but, parts for the tower have started to show up,
Okay.
the anchor bolts and things like that.
So, the superstructure in the ground.
When are they gonna start, break ground on that?
It's still, it should be shortly, I don't have the exact date.
Is that car in their way that's down there?
Yeah, the car.
So it looks like ladder one had a, are you looking for planning board?
Right, yes,
Planning board, if you go upstairs,
thank you.
you're welcome. It had its PM on the 9th, is that?
It's scheduled,
Just to,
It's getting it done.
it's,
Oh, it's not done yet? So it says engine 3 had multiple repairs, the generator's too costly to repair. So what does that mean?
so we've taken one of the portable generators and one of the Honda generators and we're backfeeding, it's just for the pole lights, the
Yeah.
scene lights.
oh, okay.
So it's still functional?
Yep.
Because we spent $15,000 on that engine.
Yeah, the generator was gonna cost several thousands of dollars to fix it, so
Is that the one that's going first or is engine one?
the second one.
Right, so engine one's going first,
Yep.
which is why it has so few repairs. Well, not so much.
Also appreciate that you now have some of the other people helping out with inspections.
Mhm.
That was noted as well. Someday we'll take more off your plate. But it was nice to see that implemented as well. Get on the list.
So the Honda took up a lot of your time going over the
I did
last
a couple
couple months.
inspections.
The last one maybe today, right?
Last one, yeah.
Now, out of curiosity, all you guys are good with, because I saw one of either Powell or Gilman did the electrical service. So they're very familiar with an FDA 70 and they got gauged the wires and all that stuff. Or
Yeah, so
or
we
you
have
a check sheet.
We have a check sheet to go by to make sure that everything is, so that there's nothing forgotten in doing an inspection.
So they all have an inspector one through the fire academy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All our officers are required to have that.
It's just like with a service inspection, there's the multiple grounding and things like that, and the
Oh, yeah.
right wire size.
Right.
That
The
they're
ground
familiar
6
with
feet
it.
apart and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, it's, that's all laid out in the check sheet on how
Okay.
to make sure that it's done properly.
So you kind of built a cheat sheet for, as long as they've been through it.
Yes,
And-
yes.
And then if it's more than, or a question, then it becomes more of a building code enforcement.
We just
That's correct.
do the meter set, that's it.
I just see in our code, it says revised state, I lost track of what the revised state COVID thing, I have no idea. You know, you go into one business, you gotta wear masks, you gotta run the place.
So the state basically, right now, is referring to communities how they want to treat and respond to COVID issues. the state is trying to step back from mandates. They make recommendations, but they're not really any enforcements of anything anymore. And they use the CDC as guidelines for their recommendations.
The state does?
I'm just
As,
confused.
not all of them strictly, but generally they're following CDC kind of guidelines.
So with that, Tilton Northfield, are they following state of New Hampshire guidance, or are they following, because the school went to this recently. The school follows New Hampshire Health and Human Services because they fall under the entity of New Hampshire Department of Education,
Right.
which follows that. It's a lot less up and down, day-to-day, political, back and forth than CDC.
Right, so the state uses CDC to develop the HHE guidelines, Health and Human Services
Yes.
guidelines. So we follow those.
Okay, so you are actually following New Hampshire Health and Human Services guidelines?
Yes,
Okay, there's a lot less fluctuation with that than there is with the CDC.
that's correct.
Okay, so you are using the New Hampshire
Yes,
common sense rule.
yes.
Okay.
And we still have protocols in place for this.
Right.
Involved or EMS calls.
I just want to make sure there are local protocols versus the federal protocols that fluctuates
Those,
ungodly.
as you are correctly stating, they fluctuate almost on a daily basis, so it would be very difficult to properly implement those, whereas the state guidelines are,
Channels
more-
a little bit more realistic and,
when they do change something, it's well advertised in advance, so you can get yourself ready
Okay.
for those before
Alright.
they actually implement it.
okay.
It's just getting more and more confusing. One school district wears masks, the next one doesn't wear masks.
Right.
And it's getting out of control. I go to the bank one day, they're wearing masks, then go to the bank the next day, they're not wearing masks. Are we seeing an uptick in cases?
I think the state as a whole has seen an uptick in cases. I really haven't noticed it personally here yet, but we are, our zone, Belknap County, Merrimack County, are in higher incidence zones within the state. The levels of COVID in the state right now are the same as what they were back in April and May.
Anybody have anything else from the chief's report? So I have to ask a question, because I saw, there was a training video that was posted, and they were using water. How did you refill the engine? I thought we weren't gonna use water.
That water was from an engine,
Yeah.
and we're allowed to refill our trucks with the fill lines.
Okay.
And
It looked like it might have been a different town's engine.
it was
I thought it saw
Franklin's
four.
engine was at that, was supplying the water for that drill.
Okay,
What was that, our training facility?
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah, they used it for the week to do some overtime shift training, so.
okay. No, I just, like, you know, I'm just thinking, oh, gee, here we are. We're showing
Yeah, we
video, we're
just
using
reviewed
water.
that today, actually, at the discussion.
But it looked like, I think it had a 4 in the back, which I don't, you know, I know we don't have engine 4, so. But I just worried about, oh, they're gonna fill up and they're gonna tie up to a hydrant and here we go.
So what we're allowed to do and what we said that we would do is we would fill our trucks from the fill stations, but we would not use the fill station as a pressurized source for training purposes.
Gotcha. So you fill the truck, go use the truck for training, then go fill it back.
Yep.
Okay. All right. And what about hydrants and cisterns? You said you're meeting with them today.
I met with him today, and it looks pretty favorable for us to move forward. He's kicking up the line to make sure that we can put a dry hydrant at that location.
Which dam was that at? Is that over by
That's on
Silver Lake?
Silver Lake Road.
Okay. It's a good spot for them. Lots of water. Anything else from anyone else?
No.
All right. Next up, Fire Station Building Committee charge. New business. So did we get more interest?
The chief has a list.
Oh,
I did a little table today with information on it.
I have a question, but I don't know what to ask you.
A list of people who related to us that they were interested in being on the committee.
Was she on that before?
No.
Julia?
No.
She was on it before, no?
No.
All right. Kevin Walker, Bill Watson.
So Paul played there, he wants to get back on. These are all the people that applied.
Yeah,
right?
all the people that have expressed an interest. Some with condition.
Yes.
Kevin Gate, Todd O'Donnell, Tim Sattler. Tim was on one before, wasn't
He was.
No, Tim,
Was he on the-
no,
Wasn't he
he
on the
was
one?
on the,
Two ones ago.
He was on,
Yeah.
he was on one.
he
Wasn't
was on the
one?
budget committee.
No, but wasn't he
He was on the one where we had the Tilton School property.
Yeah,
Oh,
Tim
that's
School.
right,
He was the chairman of that one.
that's right, he was.
Two names. Matt Auger. Is it Auger or Ozier?
Ozier.
Ozier.
Yeah, pronounce it right.
I grew up with someone and they said Auger, so I always say Auger.
It's French, it's over.
We weren't French, maybe that was wrong.
All right.
All right.
How many did we have on last time?
We had 9,
Yeah,
I believe.
they worked pretty good.
I thought the committee went pretty well.
That was not including the career firefighters.
It was including fire personnel as well, call and career.
Yeah.
So it was,
Last time we had Tim Ames, Tom.
so John, Tim, Tom. Both you were on,
Yeah, they
both
were.
Kevin's?
Yeah.
Mind you, you have to have equal representation from both ends.
Yeah, but Tim was a firefighter, so he doesn't.
Right, and Matt was a firefighter,
Oh.
Tom was a firefighter as well, so he didn't count either.
Not from the community, from the fire department representative.
Was Paul Blaisdell on that one?
No.
Firefighter. So Kevin, Kate is Tilton, Kevin Lover is Northfield. Anyone else on this list that was on the last one?
Todd Odell.
Yes.
Todd Odell was?
Yeah.
Yes,
Didn't he live in Northfield at one time? No?
One of these listed is wrong, because Bill Watson is listed in Northfield, but
Yeah,
that's
he's
Tilton.
Tilton, I thought.
he is in
Yeah.
Tilton,
Well, I
sorry,
just trying to figure, is there a Bill Street in Northfield?
No,
No.
leave it to me.
So he's a Tilton.
yes.
That helps.
Well, so Todd Odell was on it last time.
Yes.
Yes.
So John,
Is he still on planning? Because he had difficulty
I
attending the meeting.
don't think he is. I didn't see him come through planning board met tonight, but he could have come in the front door, but I don't think he's been, I think when, the whole transaction was going on between AutoServe and New Car, his life became very complicated
Yeah.
and very busy.
Yeah, at the very end, he had to step back just a little bit, but he was pretty involved.
Is his life not so busy now that he can good question to ask.
Currently, you have 4 and 4 if all did.
You represent Northfield, right? Or do you represent?
No,
He was
I
a
represented the fire
commissioner.
commissioners.
All right.
Yeah.
So what name? Oh, you're looking here.
Yeah, so if you look at that with the correction to Bill Watson to Tilton, if everyone was to come on the top 8 positions, you'd have 4 representation from each town.
That would be, would have 2 firefighters. 8, so that's 8.
And myself.
You make 9. And then, so the other 2, that does make a good number.
It does if everyone accepts.
Yeah?
So I would make a motion that we put out a request to each person that we reviewed it, and if they're still interested, then we would like them to step up to the committee
Yeah?
as step 1 of getting the committee formed.
Yeah. And then we have to come up with a charge.
Correct.
Because what do we want them to do? Do we want them to come up with shovel-ready plans to present?
Well, right now you have a motion for part 1 of
Yeah.
the forming of the committee.
All right. Well, I'll second your motion.
Okay.
Sorry, I jumped ahead.
You usually do.
I know. Scattered right there. Any other discussion?
I know.
Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 All right. So
Opposed, none. So, all
committee
right.
formed.
You want to do the charge after you get done all the new business? Because some of it can go away.
Say that again? I'm sorry.
The old business, the first one in there, can go away. We don't need to do that.
Staff pay?
Oh, no, not, sorry, I was looking at the wrong one. Never mind.
I'm like, yeah, we got some other stuff.
Yeah, we do.
Tell them that's new business, it feels, not.
Yeah.
Well, this forming the committee was new.
That was,
Yeah.
yes, so that, yes.
Well, I'm excited to get the committee going. I like that we have some previous members on there. Some people from other committees to bring in
Yep.
that, and then, I don't know some of these other people.
So do you want to go into the charge question now, or did you want to move that back?
Well, we're talking about it, let's talk about it. I mean, it doesn't have to be the final say, but it should give a good guidance. So I guess I'll go back to my question, do we want them to, I guess what's the ultimate goal? And then we work backwards from there.
So the findings of the last committee was for the foreseeable immediate future, building on the Park Street plot
Right.
is probably the immediate solution.
Yep.
Is it the 50-year solution? Probably not. You may look at a substation, possibly. But to get us in,
Say again?
but to get to establish and get out of Center Street, you're really looking at Park Street
Yeah.
expansion. So that's part of the charge. Do we want to do that on that plot?
Well, here's my one question. The chief's report was that the people that are building the cell phone tower, there was an issue with the soils supporting the weight of the tower. I'm just concerned, is it something we should look at and have the committee, authorize some borings or something, just to see, are we gonna be running into the same issue? We've kind of scratched at the surface and it looks good, but, now we're gonna, because a fire station's gonna weigh a heck of a lot more than a cell phone tower. And if that soil is not gonna support, had an issue supporting that, that was my concern when he brought that up.
May I, Aaron?
Sure.
When you look at construction, that cell phone tower has a much higher PSI
Right.
for that base. than a building's gonna have. It's also much closer to the wetlands than where the possible new fire station addition would go to. Worst case scenario, you have unsuitable materials, they over excavate, bring in suitables, and the problem goes away. It ends up being slightly more expensive because you have to over excavate, bring in more material, but it's not considerable. I believe we had borings done.
I don't remember if we did or not, so that's.
Not
did we-
for that particular area, but the borings that we did were for the cell tower area.
Further away.
Yeah, so that would certainly be part of the charge that,
Yeah, it's just a,
or maybe not even part of the charge. You have money, you guys can decide to have the borings done to make sure that wherever that footprint ends up being
We could
is
put that in
suitable.
next year's budget then.
We have money in the budget.
Didn't we have that same company do borings? While they were there, we said, come over here and do some boring.
They didn't bore where you would think a station was gonna be. They didn't do those borings.
I thought we,
We
asked-
wanted them to, but they didn't.
no one babysit.
Because when they were going to do it, it turned out to be 4 feet of snow on the ground. It was in December. And then when they came back, they only had the order from the tower company to actually, who paid for it to do it, and they forgot about us. So they did what they had to do and then left.
It's just my own.
not the same thing.
I'd hate to see us do all this work and all of a sudden, it's gonna be a lot of, extra excavation and things like that.
Well, there's a lot of things that could
No, I know, but we don't know
be
unless we
gates you're
go.
going through, absolutely, and so making sure that the ground quality can be an earlier gate in what the whole committee's looking at, because any one of these gates could say,
It could open up as a volcano tomorrow, I don't know. So,
Well, Yellowstone is overdue to erupt.
well, that's, I keep saying that, I saw some report that there's more active volcanoes now than recent memory. So, I guess, how far do we want them to get it? Do we want to get it to shovel-ready plans? Do we want it to get?
I believe we did leave in the budget last year, if we don't suck it up with legal, I believe last year there was money left in there for,
That money is earmarked for the land of the building. It
Okay.
can't be used for anything else.
okay.
How much is in that account? That was a warrant article. We made that through a warrant article. Because we did it one time. that-
Either 100 or 150,000.
I think it's 100.
I think it's 100's coming to my mind, but, because we had the issue where, a couple of years ago, we put it in the budget.
And it was
It
lapsing.
just, it lapsed into the.
Right, and this one was
unassigned
made
fund balance.
non-lapsing.
Right.
I believe it was 100. So that's,
I think it was.
that's some of your boring, if we had to. But that's part of the charges is that the commissioners authorizing the building committee, or do we bring that back to you each time
I'm looking now.
for the cost of the boring?
Well,
The commissioners can authorize it.
So we would bring it back to the commissioners to say we want to do the borings, and the
I
commissioners would,
mean, if that's gonna be the spot, I mean, you gotta
Yeah.
go through the roof, no matter where you build, you're gonna have to test it.
yeah, the borings need to be
Yes,
done.
the
It's the
committee.
accountability of the funds and things like that. I want to make sure that everything is dress right dress.
Gonna look for the guidance from the committee.
And then bring it back to the commissioners based on the guidance of the committee.
Yeah.
Okay, that's part of what
I
I
think we
want.
have, good backgrounds here, and they're gonna make good decisions.
Okay, expending of funds is their recommendation to the commissioners
Right.
from the committee. That's just part of the charges, I want to make sure.
And I have no problem if we have,
I think it's 100,000,
It is 100,000.
yes.
Okay.
And that's all we had in there.
Yeah.
I thought we had more than that.
The design, engineering, and architectural fees, it's 100,000 for the purpose of design, engineering, and architectural fees associated with the construction, addition, and/or renovation Are they fire station or fire stations?
So the land, the additional piece of land did not come from that.
No, it did not.
Right, that was additional, so.
Yeah,
That was a separate one.
Yeah.
So we own all of that now, it's all due to.
Yep.
Yeah,
Good.
so that's good. So that's good to know.
So expending funds we established.
Can I ask another question? Did the commissioners accept the report from the previous committee that Park Street was the best location to?
We did.
we did.
We did.
Okay, then my suggestion would be, and if I'm out of line, please just say so. My suggestion would be that the charge not include the engineering or the borings, because the charge should be that the committee is gonna come up with a plan for a fire station on that property, if you guys have accepted that as being the best place to go.
I do. What happens if this committee decides, okay, there should, I guess we're going forward with the intent that that's when we're gonna build the station. And then all of a sudden, you know, someone says, no, wait, you know, maybe there should be a substation. So we're beyond that point. We're beyond that point now.
We're beyond that.
No, that's good. I'm just,
That's how I understand it, is that
Yeah, I just
that
wanna be
is
sure.
the station right now.
I want to move forward. I don't want to go backwards and,
Agreed.
we're like next year, we still don't have something to update or anything like that. I mean, I want to get this forward, and we were so close, and then stupid COVID hit.
The only trouble I see is if we spend that money for engineer and all the other stuff, and then we come to find out, we do a boring test and we can't do it on there.
Do it now.
Boring is done early.
That's
As soon as the
what it
committee's
should
formed,
be,
that's
yeah.
one of the earlier gates.
I mean, that's.
Right.
That should be done, to
Yep.
make sure.
And then if something comes up with an, oh my God, then we stop it, we reassess at that point. But that should be an earlier gate where a question has been brought up.
Right.
That would be,
That'd be the first thing you would do.
Yeah.
But if the charge for the committee is to develop plans to build a station there, that's regardless of what those borings show. So that would have to be included in the cost of building that facility there.
Well, we
It would
gotta-
then it would be up to either the commissioners or the public to say, no, because of the soil conditions there, we don't want to do that, because it's adding $1 million to the cost, or, yeah, we can't go anywhere else for under $1 million extra, so we're gonna keep going.
If the commissioners so wish, I can call the engineer and see what it would cost to do the borings there and advise you, and then you can advise me to tell them to go ahead with it or not.
I would like to wait until we get the committee established on that.
Yeah.
Just get the bodies on board, and then that will be one of the first things, as like the first meeting probably with like, okay, let's move forward and get this started now.
Entirely up to you.
Yeah,
Yes, the intent is to build it on there, and barring any sudden earthquake, ravine opening up there, the intent is to build there.
no,
It's my opinion, it's
Yeah.
one of three.
but let's find out sooner than later. But when that committee ended, we had some type of plans. Was that just more of a footprint of a building of
Just
10
sort
by
of
14 or whatever is
possible-
gonna fit?
It was a concept that fitted on what we owned, and now we own even more. Where there was no real plans of any kind or anything, it was a conceptual, it can fit.
Yeah. So we
Now
can-
from there, it's how does it fit,
Right.
and what does it look like now is
Well, that's
kind of
yeah,
what
that's
this part is.
We know that a building can fit there. We don't know what that building is gonna look like at this point. It's just.
Correct.
It was a 14,000 square foot building determined.
Was that total, or was that just the addition was 14,000?
Total.
The total.
Okay. So
But that was,
including,
as the chief pointed out, that was prior to acquiring the additional land.
yeah.
It was more,
I thought the additional land was more for access than anything.
Yeah, that 1,400, that brought it right to the line, I believe.
Yeah, we were right on the line, where the snow was sloughing onto the state property at that point.
That's, yeah. So, well, so, what was your first charge?
The charge is to, down and dirty is to design. These are just notes of the expending of the
Yeah.
funds. I want to make sure the ground rules of how that was done. The charge is to design a station to go there. I mean, that's
Depends
down
on
and
that piece
dirty.
of property,
Yeah.
Tim, would like to say something?
yeah. Tim?
I just had a question. I know you're gonna get the committee back together, and it just seemed like we were kind of stumped on the whole charge thing. Maybe it'd be beneficial to have the committee meet.
Yep.
You have some people who are back and familiar with the plan, you can review the plan, see where you're at, and you're gonna have a representative there on the committee anyways, and then maybe with that information, you have a better idea of really what the charge
Yeah.
could or should be.
Input from the committee?
Yeah,
Yeah, I would want their input.
I
I'll post that and give it to them. I mean, the intent is to build a station there.
Yeah, I mean, that's known. Okay.
How and
So we get the committee to have their first meeting, and we'll leave it in your hands. Very capable hands that did a good job last time.
I just, going forward with this, I think that the charge should be to build a plan to the district meeting for approval for a fire station, all done, said and complete,
So shovel ready.
shovel ready, ready to go, ready to be funded.
Yeah.
That's what, the building, that's where they are really, should be. I don't see it being anything else.
Did you have a similar plan for the police station building committee?
Yeah, once we had an idea of what the cost was gonna be, or what the, not to exceed price, so to speak, like, you know, because of different costs and things like that, but, you know, once we found the piece of land, we really had to wait for the archdiocese to go through their process to buy that piece of property, but in the meantime, you know, we designed the police station. And then when we went to town meeting, you know, we had, these are the plans, this is what the police station is gonna look like, and this is, you know, what it's gonna cost, and at town meeting, they approved a not to exceed cost.
But I meant as far as the charge went for the committee.
Yeah,
From
our first
select-
place, yeah, because we were charged to find a place, and, you know, originally we had where we thought we were gonna put it, but then we discovered costs that were way too much for what you were getting in return, so that's when we said, well, time out, reset, we're gonna look at every, one of the members drove from Franklin to Mosquito Bridge and up to Samberton on 132 and looked at every piece of land that looked like it was over, we knew a minimum size of 2 acres, and, you know, it was like 150 pieces, and then we just went through and we just eliminated, and we've already done that here, but, you know, we kind of started over from scratch, but then, you know, once we knew where we could build, okay, what can we fit here? We didn't want to use the whole piece of property, so, okay, we'll take half of it, what can we fit here? And you know, it wasn't just a 20-year building, we built it with the intention, or designed it with the intention of being a 50-year property, you know, a 50-year building, so that, you know, yeah, there's some extra space, but, you know, at some point, it's gonna be used. And that was the design. And it's, you know, if in the future they can add a building on, you know, they can add onto that building because of the way it was designed for whatever future needs might be of the police department. You know, if they decide that, you know, the future police car is all Mack trucks, well then we'll have, you know, make some things some bigger, but whatever works is, but it's, you know, designed for the future, the present and for the future, so that in 10 years no one's coming back and saying, oh, you know, we didn't need a station because this one's too small. It was, let's build it big, you know, within a certain budget, and designed it. You know, they made a few tweaks inside, but nothing major.
But the charge for that committee was to.
Shovel ready,
Yeah.
shovel ready.
Meeting.
Shovel ready. We wanted to be shovel ready at town meeting. Well, actually, in time for public hearings, you know, but we tweaked it. We tweaked it along the line. because when we did have the public hearing, there was, I think there were some corners that we eliminated, to save money, that, someone suggested, hey, if you do this, it's, cheaper, you're not taking away the overall square footage, but making it more of a rectangle shape, if you will, versus, little corners. Did you have a question? Oh, I think shovel ready.
All right, does the district have a way that we can have shared documents that people can access?
Tried a Google Drive last time and met with limited success, I would say.
Okay.
So,
Do you guys have any kind of shared drive system used with the fire department?
no.
Okay.
Talk to Tim Pearson. He's very good at Google.
It wasn't us putting documents into the system, it was
users.
other people gaining access to those documents was the problem.
Point taken. Some people are a little more technology challenged than others.
All right. So I think the first step,
I mean, not knowing many of these, not all these people, but I think the people I know, they're pretty savvy with technology.
You know when you know.
Yeah.
okay.
All right.
I think we got the base charge, we'll get the notification out to people, and then we'll have to establish a night, once we hear back from people, of what night will work.
Well, you should go to them with a night and see, make sure they can make it.
Well, I know Tuesdays are bad, right off the bat. Some Mondays.
What did you meet last time?
You met on Tuesday,
We were on Tuesdays?
Yeah.
but that was before Kevin
Right
was.
before you,
selected.
what's your Wednesdays look like? Just while I got you.
My day is Thursday.
Okay. What about you?
Any other day is fine.
Just while I got you two here, Wednesday? Okay. So we'll start up with a trying for Wednesday, and we'll see with other people on board, but we'll start looking at that. And I'll work with Kathy on the notification.
Okay.
Okay.
That works.
Can we go back for a second to the Lakes Region Mutual Fire Aid?
Sure.
I found it was in 2017 that it went before both towns as to withdraw, the town withdrawing, the fire district joining.
Hmm.
Failed.
Did either town approve it?
I'm looking on Tilton, no, and I'm looking right now for, see if I can find Northfields. Because they're not the same warrant article number.
Was that more of a, I don't know what the right word is.
Non-binding.
Non-binding.
No,
Vote.
it was to withdraw,
From the district,
from Lakes Region Mutual Fire Aid, both towns, and for the fire district to join.
So that was a,
Was there any caveat in there that if one town passed it versus another town not passing it?
No.
Okay.
Oh, wait a minute, yes, it was conditional upon the town, both towns.
So both towns had to pass
Both
it?
towns had to pass it. So, and
And when was this?
in 2017. Of course, it passed in Northfield, but failed in Tilton, so it failed.
And it was the exact same wording of both?
Exact same wording, it was by petition in both towns.
Okay.
So one other question before we do move off the committee. If not every member on this list goes, the fair and equal representation, how do you want to handle that?
Good point.
I see, I don't look at it like Tilton North. It's a district, both towns belong to it. Our goal is one thing, the fire department.
Yeah, I'm comfortable with that.
It's not Tilton, it's not Northfield, it's a
The
district.
bylaws say that committees are gonna have equal representation.
Huh?
The
The
bylaws
bylaws
of the
have to
district.
have equal
And that's the
representation.
reason why I brought it up.
Has to have equal representations.
So if someone steps down from this,
Yeah, you run into,
See,
because right now you're at 4 and 4.
We'd have to look for a replacement.
and all
Or-
find out about it.
If you can't find a replacement, you have to drop one from the other town.
Right.
can you have,
I'm sorry, you can vote it off the aisle.
I can't think of the word I'm looking for, but like alternate members.
Bylaws don't really address that, but, so I don't know the answer to it.
I don't think you'd get away with someone resigning and as a result of that, someone else being removed.
No, I would see that being a sticky
I think
wicket.
you're better off finding a replacement.
Yeah.
You've got to find a replacement.
Well, that's the same with the budget committee, correct? So
Yeah. Yep.
a person from Tilton resigns for whatever reason.
They have to
They
find a
don't
replacement.
kick somebody from Northfield, or
Right,
they find somebody
They
new
find a
from Tilton.
replacement.
Or it can remain open.
Yeah. I just want to make sure we covered everything in advance.
Absolutely.
So
So I guess
look for,
we look for a replacement if there's.
try to recruit a replacement from that, if there was an opening from a town.
Yes.
Okay. Just,
Or what's the other side, if you had one for each town? Would you just make the committee
I would
3 and
go-
3?
I would go smaller as long as it's equal.
Okay.
That's my two
Yeah.
cents to it.
It's harder to find two than one, but
Yeah,
cross that bridge, I guess. Hopefully we don't
hopefully
have-
not to, but, okay.
Who will the commission representatives be? Still you?
Yeah. Yeah, we had already determined that, sorry. Eric, when you said names. You stuck with me again?
Good continuity.
I don't think it called being stuck at all.
Well, that's the whole thing, is pretty much everyone that was on the committee before that wanted to is on it again, so. It's that continuity piece.
Yeah, I mean, it makes it easier. I mean, you guys are on there before, you know it's,
And you got someone from our previous committee on there now too, which is nice to bring to the table as well.
All right.
Too bad Lisa wasn't still around.
I know.
Is it official
Engineering
that she moved
background
out?
really helped.
I don't know, she moved, I thought she moved to Florida, but I don't know if she's snowbirding it or not.
I don't know. But she's not on this list, so.
Yeah, she didn't submit. I think
Alright.
they can do.
All right, so we all set with the fire station building committee?
I feel we are ready to get going.
Okay. So now we'll move on to old business. First on their starting pay.
So, the commissioners asked me to conduct a
Yes.
survey of the starting pays for the area fire departments. And the people that I got responses were Franklin, Guilford, Plymouth, and Laconia. That's being a very small sample. So I expanded it, and I also got responses from Goffstown and Epping. If you take just the ones in the Lakes region, the starting hourly pay is $19.50 an hour. If you combine a little broader, it goes up to $21.06 per hour. Our starting salary is $17.93 an hour.
1793, you said?
Yes.
And could you say the Lakes Region towns again? I got Franklin, Guilford, Laconia, and there was another. Plymouth. Okay, I knew there was one more.
So the combined between those towns was 19,
Yeah.
$19.50.
and then when you throw in Goffstown and Epping, it was 20.
It brings it up to $21.06.
How does Goffstown compare to us?
Goffstown starting salary is $20.87. Then you look, but I also asked how many holidays do they pay? What's the town's cost for health insurance? What the town's cost for a dental plan if they offer it? So I know we fall in those areas as well. So our total cost on a first year, if the member takes a family plan, is $68,579.
What would it be? Sorry.
$68,579.
Thank you.
Franklin's is $78,886. Guilford is $71,178. Plymouth, $74,624. And Laconia is $76,507. Goffstown, if you're interested, was $76,566. And Epping was $80,965.
And those numbers were wages and benefits, or just benefits?
So this, wages,
Yep.
holiday pay, family plan, dental plan,
Okay.
period. So I wanted
That's all-
apples to
that's all.
apples all the way across, because there are other benefits that some offer and others that some don't. The dental plan is not offered everywhere. We do not pay for dental, the employees pay for dental. And that's the same with a couple of other communities. I'd say more communities pay for dental than not, but some don't. Other communities offer, if you have a bachelor's degree or an associate's degree or master's degree, they give you compensation for that. That was one of the more common ones that I found that we do not have.
What about the opt-out on insurance? Do any of them do that?
Yes, most do. They're all at different levels. Some offer better than what we do, and some offer worse than what we do for opting out. A lot of it, I believe, depends upon what health plan that the town offers to their employee, health plan or plans. I think for us, the opt-out has worked out very well. We have a lot of folks that are on the opt-out, which is saving us money, actually. It seems like it's not intuitive, but it actually does save us money by offering the opt-out.
But unfortunately, we have to plan that for taking the full benefits.
I understand that.
Now, do we, so the opt-out is like if they choose to get a
So for the,
amount rather than the benefits?
right, so
Okay.
they can't take the opt-out if they have no health insurance.
Right.
They have to have health insurance. But if their spouse has health insurance and they can get it from their spouse,
Yeah.
once they prove that to us, then they can get the opt-out.
Yeah.
And for us, which is the cost of the district's cost of a single family, a single person plan.
Yeah.
It could be, never mind. Oh, they could go and buy health insurance in the marketplace if they find it cheaper, or only if, basically, it's if their spouse has
Their
insurance.
spouse, they have to have health insurance from a spouse or a parent.
Right.
Some of the folks we hire are young enough that they can still be on their parents' plan.
Maybe up to like 26, I think, or something.
Yes,
like
26.
Yeah.
Reach the age of 26.
that.
Still paying for that.
So are we having issues recruiting?
Everyone is right now.
The entire state is having issues recruiting. I know Seabrook has 2 openings currently. Seabrook starting pay is $65,000 a year, and they had 0 people apply for the job. Laconia and Keene, I think Keene has actually passed it now, that they have sign-on bonuses. If you're an advanced EMT, it's either $2,000 or $3,000, and a paramedic is $5,000. Laconia is starting to implement that same process of a sign-on bonus to try and attract more candidates. Nashua was looking at as well. And Nashua, when they did their last recruitment, they did a countrywide recruitment process. They had 32 openings, and they were only able to find 14 suitable candidates to fill. It's a statewide problem.
Yeah.
And
Do we have a current opening now?
we're not. We have, well, we're in the process of
Safer.
filling one of them,
Mm.
and we're waiting for some stuff to come back.
Crazy market right now. I saw an article the other day, or a news story the other day about some town somewhere in New England that they upped the rate like $5 an hour, and they got all sorts of publicity for it. But I don't know how qualified the candidates that they are getting are, but.
So our candidates, the minimum qualifications that they do have to be an EMT and do have to be certified firefighter too. Those are the bare bottom bones minimum.
EMT or AEMT?
EMT, a
Okay.
safer,
For the safer.
for the safer, it's an
Okay.
EMT.
Yes.
Once they move out of the safer position, they have to become an advanced EMT.
So are we taking them out of the safer without having AEMT?
So, yes, but they have a 6-month period in which to attain that EMT.
But now we're paying for that AEMT course at that point?
No.
No.
Oh,
No.
they're at their cost?
It's at their cost.
Okay.
We're pretty fortunate that our safer hires were already in a class, or, I mean, even the one that we have a conditional offer to is in the middle of waiting to take his test, so
Nice.
we've been pretty lucky.
All right.
So in the last fill, we interviewed 2 people. One was a definite no, and the other one, I think we can work with. We'll find out. It's, so, it's very, very thin out there right now.
Mhm.
But I don't,
I think it is everywhere, but.
It is.
You just-
If you're getting someone, you're taking from another department. It's not a lot coming into it's, Belmont just lost someone to Manchester. That's only been there a little over a year.
Yeah.
So,
Sampson,
yeah.
It's crazy. It's like that everywhere. I mean, it's not just the fire industry, it's not just the police,
It's everywhere.
it's everywhere.
So, the reason I brought this up, it isn't really a recruiting effort to get better candidates, although I hope that it would. It's that we want to maintain at least the middle ground of what we are in our marketplace. And as it turns out, the middle area in our marketplace is $19.50, right? That's what it is today. And we're starting our folks at $17.93. So if someone were to apply in this area, if there were 2 openings, and they were offered a job in both places, I would think they're probably going to take the higher paying job, especially if they have any responsibilities of a family.
Now, if you make, hypothetically, we bumped our rate to 1950, does that go all the way up the ladder?
It does.
So it affects everyone?
and overtime and.
Yeah, no, it's a huge, just, it adds up.
It does add up.
Which wasn't even budgeted for this year. So this is something, if you were to consider it, you'd be probably looking at the next budget because, or where we're gonna take more money from to cover.
We definitely have to, it would be this year, and if the commissioners so chose, that we could look at how the costs, I'd have to come up with you'd have to give me a number, and I would have to come up with a plan of how much that would cost. The other option is I could give you a bunch of different numbers, and I could come up with costs for those. The consumer price index year over year is at 5.4% right now. So we've already lost that. The problem, what we've done here traditionally, is that we've been giving folks a step raise
Without a COLA.
without a COLA. And so our, where you start when you become a firefighter or a captain, or, well, that's really the only two positions we have down there, that pay doesn't change as the economy changes. It should really be more of a COLA than a step raise, but we've been doing step raises.
Well, the downside is, I mean, you say it's 5.5, but the market out there, very few people are able to afford that. I mean,
That's wrong.
So,
you
I've actually looked at that, and I went to a class given by an economist, and the economist was saying how a lot of folks lost, well, he talked about governments and how they get money, and money's through taxation. The governments really have not lost their tax base. And the reason he was saying is that because most people who did not maintain their jobs were people in the lower income market, you know, restaurant workers, that type of stuff. The people who are higher in the thing, in the economy scale, would still kept their jobs and still paid their taxes. And so the governments really didn't lose their tax base, as was predicted when COVID first came in. And so he said that the main thing is you still need to maintain everybody's salary on the scale of where they should have been, not where they were left behind.
Right, but one of the things that we have seen here for a long time, even before COVID hit, is if you were to say 3% at a district meeting or a selectman meeting or at a budget meeting or something like that, the pitchforks are coming out.
Yeah.
So if you say that 5%, I mean, you're trying to find a way to stay on the glide slope, and yes, you've fallen below the glide slope, but to set a glide slope at 5%,
People aren't getting 5.4% raises.
exactly.
I know I'm not,
Yeah.
you know.
I mean,
I don't know what your business is doing, but I'm,
No, I haven't got one.
you know, I mean,
so the
So
5% is, I mean, that alone would be a,
well, it's 90, it's based on 1793, it's 90 cents. Was it
so are we trying to get back to a glide slope?
Oh, I don't know.
I think it would be a good idea to come up with a plan on how to get there. And maybe it's not all at once, maybe it's a little, like, I know in some previous places that I've researched that to get to that percentage that you needed to get at to become in the median, you did at the first half of the year you did this, the second half of the year you did a little bit more, and then you had and these were in multi-year contracts that what I was looking at, so they every 6 months they did a little something to, so at the end of the contract they were at the median of where they should be in their area.
And in the
So it
Lakes,
wasn't one great big hit, it was,
in the Lakes region, you only heard back from 4. Did you reach out to more than 4?
well, yeah,
Okay.
number
I
of
just
number
wanted-
of times.
I wanted to ask,
Yeah.
this, okay.
There was a question from the audience.
I've been involved in a couple of municipal employees' wage and benefit studies over time. One thing I remember taking the hardest hit on, and what we learned the most from, was when you do your comparison, do them in like-sized departments.
Yes.
Because if you come to the public and tell them that you compared your wages to the city of Laconia or Keene, you're gonna get cut off at the knees.
Yes.
That does not, in reality, does not fly. You can't compare our wages to Laconia, Keene. Goffstown is pushing it because it's a rich thing. And Guilford the same way. Their budget's more than ours, I bet, and they don't have as many calls. They get more money than we do. So that's the one thing I remember, we took it right in the face on that, because two of the communities shouldn't have been in the study, and they were, because they were ritzy communities. And once, we took it pretty hard, so, you know, I think to compare,
Plymouth and Franklin are good examples of what to use,
I
because,
wouldn't immediately disagree with that, but Laconia and Keene,
We don't have Keene in here.
no,
I thought you talked about Keene.
No.
that was just for
Oh,
incentives.
Sign-on bonuses.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, but you also have to take, I mean, to look at Laconia, that's a potential place where someone from here may go.
It's a
It's a competitor to the Tilton Northfield Fire District. It is. I mean, one thing
Anything
about
within a short
firefighters,
distance,
yeah, I mean, anything with firefighters is they tend to go a little further away because they're commuting there once, and they're, in most cases, there for 24 hours, and then they come back.
You're right, we've had that incident already.
Yeah.
Vermont?
No,
We lost to
Oh,
There was
Laconia.
once a resident of Northfield that was employed by FDNY.
mhm. Yep. Yeah, because you'd go down for just 24-hour shift and then come back. Yep.
There was a resident of Northfield that was a firefighter in just outside of Boston, north of Boston.
Chelsea.
Yeah, Chelsea or something like that. And he retired, but he went down there and he did it for years.
Yeah.
So I mean, I guess it depends where people are in their life if they're gonna be willing to do that. If they're if it's new family, maybe not so much. But if they're a little older and they don't have to be home for the
I still think there's a way, somebody that's really clever with numbers and stuff, you could come up with a way, because when somebody works overtime, it's not just 8 hours, it's the 12-hour shift. There's a way that could be worked in there, so you could alternate people. And I don't know, if a guy was really smart, you could sit down and figure it out. So you could alternate, maybe 3 guys on a shift. This guy don't come in until 10, then another guy comes in at
They do
noon
that
time
somewhat.
and keep doing that. So you still got 3 guys, but they're alternate, so they don't get all the overtime.
Right, and so sometimes there's someone who will cover days and then someone else will cover the night portion of that coverage.
Well, yeah, but instead of 3 of them working from 7 to 7, this guy comes in at 7, he's done it, say, noontime or whatever.
The only way.
And then somebody else comes in and covers his shift, and they keep doing it, alternating, so they only get paid 8 hours. They don't get paid the overtime.
You would have to hire more employees to do that without having overtime. Because you have man hours, forget about the people, there's man hours that you use to cover a shift or a period of time. And with each person, when they're hired as an employee, is covered by a certain period of hours that they're compensated for. And in our case, it's an average of 42 hours per week. They work those 42 hours per week on average. Some weeks they work more, some weeks they work a little less, but over average it's 42 hours. If there was a smart way of making those guys able to, the same number of guys that you have now, work without incurring overtime, it would have been done, because every fire department in the United States that works 24-hour shifts, somehow somebody would have thought of a way of doing it.
Yeah, but you're paying, what, 300 and some odd thousand
There you go.
of overtime. And if you figure a guy makes
No, I don't think we're there.
$70,000 a year,
I think you lose. I think a lot of people would lose the incentive because they're incentivized by the overtime. I'll give you a perfect example at work today. The front desk supervisor, it's like, oh, I got to watch. I don't want overtime this week. And then we had, ironically, a fire alarm company there testing all the stupid fire alarms. Making, yeah, making them beep every 30 seconds. He's like, oh, I'm gonna stay here as long as possible because I want the overtime, and we're supposed to end by 3:30, but I was on the phone at 6 o'clock this morning, so I'm already in overtime, and he was driven by the overtime. So I think overtime, I think it's a fair statement to make that they're driven by the overtime, that's why they cover some of those things. But sometimes they're even swaps, aren't they?
Yeah, there's a lot of swaps.
You know,
I think the big challenge about a schedule like that would be getting people to work it.
well, okay, using his,
Well, you could
if
pay more.
I'm coming 7 to 12, why do I want to come in for 5 hours? That that kills
Well,
my day.
what I meant by that is 8 hours, I don't know,
Well,
it's 2, 3 o'clock.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know.
You could pay them a lot more per hour and still save money, right?
No, you can't because of the Fair Labor Standards Act. They're only allowed to work a certain number of hours before you have to pay them overtime. And
Well,
unless you have
before
more
that, we had
people-
48 hours, never paid them.
Excuse
And
me?
they were working 48 hours, then weren't they? Before we went down to 40 hours.
It may be 40, it may have been 48 hours, but it was spread out over a number of weeks as to how it worked out. So, they worked 48 hours
Like
this
the
week.
10th and
that-
14th.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand that. I still think there's got to be,
Why don't you give it a try?
I do, I've been thinking.
I think it's interesting, food for thought. I'm only one of 3, but I would be curious to see what the impact would be on the budget overall. I mean, okay, even if you just go from 1793, let's just say you want to bring it up to the average of 1950. Sure, that's, I'm not good at math, so I'm going to say $1.50, right, $1.60? No, about right, $1.60 or so?
$1.57.
$1.57, I went the wrong way. So, okay, that's on that. So does that mean that every employee is gonna get $1.57 an hour raise? Or are they could someone get $3 an hour or whatever? I would like to see what the impact is gonna be on the overall budget. Just bring it up to the average. But, okay, if we bring, if you bring that calculation in September, and all of a sudden all these towns start doing that, and now we're not, so I would like to see a number north of the average, just to see, because we're saying we're bringing it up to the average, but the average as of when?
2 weeks ago.
Right, but I'm just saying that, as more people retire, get hurt, and they need to fill these holes, they're gonna get more creative. I mean, I guess the only good thing is, like, you take Laconia, they just entered their fiscal year, so they're kind of locked until next year on what their budget is, but
The other thing, you said this is starting pay. What
Yeah.
about, your offices and stuff? We must be within line there.
So actually, we've fallen a little bit behind in that as well. I don't have all those numbers with me because when we talked about this, it's let's pick one and go with it, and we said starting pay. And when you get into officers, it's different communities have different ranks and different it's harder to compare apples to apples with officers because different communities' some officers have different responsibilities than what we have here.
I would like to see the impact on the budget of bringing it up to that, and I don't know what a number would be above it, just to see, is, it's gonna be a moving target, I think. I don't think, we're talking 1950 now, but we might be talking $20 later on. When it comes time.
That was my original proposal for you guys to look at. I says, looking at it overall, I said, we should really be starting folks at $20 an hour.
I just looked at the minutes of last time, that's what was the
I
charge.
thought it was 20, I thought we had said 20, but I
It was. Yeah, it's right there. Yeah, right there, from last month.
And then that's when Commissioner Rozier said, well, we pay health insurance and things like that. So I said, well, I'll look at the base salary, I'll look at holidays, dental insurance, and health insurance.
How many holidays do they get now? 12?
11.
11.
11? So they get 11 holidays.
What about vacation time?
It varies on the length of time you've been here.
Yeah.
What's the stat on? After
It's
a
not
year?
nothing.
Well, I know, after a year.
At 6 months, they get 48 hours.
Okay, at a year.
It's 48 hours
Okay, 40, for a year?
for a year. Yes, at 6 months, they get 48 hours, and then at that year, they get 48 hours.
So they get.
So they get 2 weeks, they get 2 weeks.
And, right, and then
Going
it,
forward, yeah.
yeah, and then it stays that way until they've been here 5
5
years.
years.
And then that's the next.
Another 40 hours.
So 1 to
Not
5,
24
so
hours,
1 to
sorry.
5 years,
It's
it's
2
2
weeks.
weeks.
Yes.
And then at 5 to 10, it's 3 weeks, and then 10 plus, it's 4.
Terrible.
You get more than that, don't you?
5 to 2 weeks. I think I had to be, well, actually, no, I just started, so I'm at the,
You're at the bottom.
I have no PTO. And I watched the 4th of July go bye-bye, because I didn't even get that as a holiday, so I get Labor Day. I get six holidays a year in the private sector, but I work in an industry that's 24/7. And known to be chintzy when it comes to pay.
So, if you were doing a study, could you build out a more detailed Excel sheet so we can see the datas to include? Part of what I would love to see if you were to do that was starting firefighter pay, starting officer pay, with the 4 towns that got back to you, would be nice to see what they're starting officer. Because obviously an officer is someone who, I assume, has been in the fire service more than 2 years, minimum. I'm being facetious with that. I would expect,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you have a greenhorn coming in right out of the academy,
you're not going to take them on as an officer.
no, I didn't hear the officer,
Right.
sorry.
Right, so you're starting firefighter, yes,
Yeah.
that could be brand new. Starting officer, you'd probably look at someone who's in the fire service for 5 years.
Yeah.
So knowing that, there should be a little bit of variance, but seeing that apples to apples for both.
Would, go ahead.
And then looking to a little bit of like the vacation time and things like that. Kind of build out that Excel sheet, and if it's got a gap that, say, Franklin doesn't offer it, just leave that as a missing line, but then it's actually better to be able to see that comparison, as it kind of helps a little bit with that. Because then you could have that as the current, and then it'd be very easy to work a formula into that to, okay, now to increase, this column would be with the 1.57, $1.57 difference, and then that would, your other columns would auto sum.
Yes.
To
Yes, they
help.
would automatically.
Right, so that would help build that
Yes. Yeah.
cost assessment based on that. And then we can be looking at 1 year or 2 year, or maybe they need also implement to that, if we do have, not cost of living, the other one we use, stages or not stages?
Steps.
Steps, thank you, that's the term. Kind of that imported into there, so that it has that, be able to see that, because yes, whatever you add for 2 cents down here, if the step increase is an actual 10 cents at this step, okay, so now we're adding 12 cents onto this person. That will kind of show a progression in there. Also, I assume, like you said,
Right.
paramedic, you pay a little bit more.
Right, the difference between the steps is from step 1 to step 2, it's 5%.
Okay,
And then from step 2 to 3 and on up, it's 2.5%.
and the steps are based on years, or what are they based on?
That's
for?
years,
Okay, so it's 1 year for each step, pretty much?
pretty much,
That's
yes.
what's been the custom.
Okay, so kind of having that in there, so that's leading to, and it's similar, it sounds like what you
Right.
already have built
It's-
for 90% of,
And it'll be easy enough to just copy it and make those changes,
Yeah.
and then, I can print off, it'll be just the wages, it won't include the benefit portion.
what the cost of a family benefit would be, you could have in there, because then it's not special to each person, it would, but that's part of our
I
overall
already have that
impact.
in
Yeah,
there.
Right, but that way we're kind of looking at a lump sum, because then we can see, okay, is it something that's looked at the budget for next year or something? Because right now, $1.57 would be great for 4 people, but now for the other 12 people, that's really,
What's that coming up?
it's actually like $4 per person type thing impact.
So we would start off with, by increasing step 1 percentage. We figure out what that percentage is and apply it to all labor grades.
Yeah.
So
Just
that
have to put it in the first
in the first
box,
column,
first
and
column,
then
first
it
box,
automatically,
Right, exactly, and that's the whole thing with that's why I was saying the Excel,
Yeah.
because you can do the auto formulas in there so easily, and then we could see overall for budget season what the impacts are gonna be, or if it's possible to do a percentage this year or not, or if we have to look at to the budget and how much of an impact and try to sell. I think that would be beneficial.
You can work on it.
That's my thought.
Yeah, once you get up into the officers, it can be mind-numbing.
Right.
And quite an impact. Do you find there's more movement in the lower ranks than the higher ranks? Like, as someone is established here, say they've been here 10 years, they're not gonna move as much as someone that maybe, like, someone just, you just said that someone was there, like, just over a year, and they moved to Manchester. You know,
I did.
Yeah, you know, they just moved from Belmont to Manchester after a year. Do you find that more people in the early stages of their career are moving around more?
I think it's more in the early stages of career is more historical that they're trying to find where they want to settle in, because after they've been there, but I mean, I know that our department lost people who've been there 10 years or so that went from an officer in Belmont, went down to Merrimack. Or they could go to Nashua, and as a firefighter in Nashua can make more than what they were as an officer in Belmont.
That's happened here, we've lost 10 people.
Yeah.
We've lost firefighters and
Officers and
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brown and
yeah, right. So I mean, it's nowadays it's
Greg,
Yeah.
we
he's
show
a captain and left.
Yep.
Become a pro.
Well, we shouldn't say names. I don't think.
oh, it's
I didn't
okay.
say
It was on first name.
Personnel issue. Oh, okay. Just want to make sure we're not.
We're fine on that because it's history and everybody knows.
Okay. Yeah, I'd like to see that.
I think that would help us a little bit, because then you can actually work with the numbers instead of, oh, 157 arbitrary. Well, let's see if we dropped it down
To the
to,
slide, the
10.
Excel spreadsheet, if you punch in this number,
Right.
what's that do to all of the
so
numbers?
$1, what would that impact? Is that somewhat where, and then that will also help us figure out the glide slope that we're trying to,
I mean, it's,
where that glide slope is and where we fall, and are we trying to get to it, or?
we have to walk that fine line as commissioners, where we don't want to get into the position of we're losing everyone, jumping ship. Now we're going to do what Paul loves to do, which is pay overtime to cover the shifts, then get into a spot where, hey, you know what, Tilton's not a bad place to be. They take care of me. It's busy, but it's not too busy. It's kind of nice there, and they pay a good wage, and sometimes sometimes it's about quality of life for people, and I think we have to look at that as we have to walk that fine scale, because we have people in this town that probably haven't gotten raises, and we have to be conscious of the taxpayers. But
Yes.
Do we want to pay $500,000 next year in overtime because we're so short-staffed? Versus, the one thing about these guys is we got to cover the shift. It's not like you can say, oh, I'll tell you, you want to stay another 24 hours? I don't know.
He already does.
He does, but does someone want to stay now you're paying them overtime, and that's but then we'll think about Paul just said, oh they can that's going to get messy. So we have to find that happy medium, make the taxpayers happy, present it well, because they're the ones that pay the salaries.
I want to keep the people we have, but we're definitely worried about the taxpayers' impact.
Of course
Yeah.
you do.
Yeah, I mean.
You can't drive everybody.
It just seems like recently we've I thought we went through a nice little stretch there. We didn't seem to lose too many people. Now we're seem to be losing people, but it's the nature of
It's
the way the world is right now, and I hate to say it, I hate using that line.
The problem is the younger ones, where they're the younger in their careers, they could very easily go for another $1 an hour because,
Nothing holding them down.
right,
Trust me, my company, there's a McDonald's right across the parking lot. They're advertising $14 an hour.
Just like everybody else, there's no one to hire, and we're all interviewing the same people. Fine.
Yeah.
It's who,
Or they don't even show up for the interview because they just met someone, they got 50 cents more an hour, and that's what they're doing.
right. I mean, now trying to get the better training opportunities where they come in here and get SwiftWire training and all these other things that can,
that's one of the big selling points
So-
for us.
Right.
But we restricted that with the safer employees that we're not gonna train.
right. We have to, it's finding that, I mean, if
So
you.
that's why a safer employee would be more incentivized to leave
Mhm.
because they can get trained somewhere else, or it's not a safer position somewhere else. Like right now, those 4 guys are on the block.
Yes.
Well, some of them have been moved up into the ranks.
One has.
One has.
Oh, I thought we had
And
2.
another one will,
Okay.
hopefully with the new hire.
We got some rock stars too.
Yes.
Got some really, really good.
We do have some good people.
For that safer grant, we're really good people.
Good.
And that's the problem, is it's they getting their foot in the door, and yes, they're gonna be able to sell themselves that, oh, well, this person left, and,
I got 2 years' experience at Hilton Northfield.
yep.
Gone, see ya.
Yeah. All right. I think we beat that horse pretty dead.
I'll put that together for you guys.
All right, appreciate that, Chief, thank you.
I think that'll help with it.
And the visual, the visual. Right,
I am too,
numbers,
I mean,
write
I'm
down
looking at
numbers.
some of the stuff, but there's so many factors in there.
Hopefully, some other communities will come forward with some more information in the area that I've tried to.
It benefits them too if they get the numbers, but then they're like, oh, so if we increase ours by 50 cents, then we can start taking from them, so it's a dual-edged sword.
Is there like a survey that NHMA does?
Yes. But it's from 2014.
No, just, no, that's not even relevant right
That's
now.
not gonna help.
That's not helping.
No. All
They
right,
did conduct one last year, but firefighters was not one of the survey.
maybe this year.
They did fire chiefs.
Next.
instead.
All right, the next is Safer Grant Continuation Committee.
Did you have any interest from the public on that?
Still only one.
One person.
Get that up. Or maybe because it's too far out, so to speak.
I don't know if it's too far out to discuss ways to
Yeah,
help with that.
yeah.
Did we have
It's not a sexy subject.
It's not. It's,
It's on the fire station, it's a grant.
Right.
um, did we have a deadline on applications on that one, like we did the
We
fire
did
station?
not,
No.
no.
It's open-ended.
Yeah, the only one that has shown the interest so far is Scott Lewandowski.
He's
I
also
like
on the
him.
budget
I
committee.
like him, he's good. He's actually, he's pretty well, pretty impartial.
Can we bump it on our Facebook page and then I'll try sharing it to all the pages like I did the last one?
Yep.
Just put it
You
out.
do it one day, I'll do it the next day.
Yeah, we'll put it up there. I mean, the last one, I put it out the day before it closed. I just didn't get to it and I got beat up on that. And it's like, it's been posted forever. Whatever.
And that's just it, you know?
Maybe we put when's our next, like a September 1st deadline?
Yes,
Maybe we give a deadline to people, they'll be more apt.
maybe.
Do you want me to put a deadline on that?
Yeah, let's make it.
Right before our next meeting. so
Our next
that-
meeting is the 7th,
I
the day
know-
after Labor Day.
I know, because we,
Do it like the 6th.
9/6.
Yeah, that way we get them in and then we can
Okay,
bring it
well-
right
Friday,
in.
what's the Friday before that?
The third.
The third.
9/3.
Let's do
Okay, I
9/3.
see what you're saying. And if we, yeah.
Because no one's gonna think about that over Labor Day.
Yeah,
Everybody takes a long weekend.
yeah, okay. And then once that goes up on there, I'll share it to all the Northfield pages and all that stuff. That way the people can beat me up on it and the people can submit who wants to.
Bunch of people. Fire Station Building Committee again.
Taken care of.
We took care of that very much under the.
That was under new business.
It also under old business. Oh, it was both.
New business.
Sorry. Tilton and Northfield Water District, special district meeting.
So part of the order from Judge O'Neill was to go through our process
Okay.
to get to a special district meeting. And I would imagine, although it's up to you guys, that you would probably want to have some type of agreement with the water district going forward to bring to a district meeting. Otherwise, you can schedule a district meeting, but what would you have it for if you didn't have an agreement? You could just
We could bring the original agreement, the 126,000, if they do not want to talk with us.
You could, or you could bring an agreement for $10. It doesn't matter, unless you have an agreement.
Right.
So the court order does not say you have to have a dollar amount. It just says you have to schedule through your normal process. That includes public hearings and all that
Yep.
other stuff.
So they haven't responded to anything that we've done.
No,
I mean, we've tried to, I mean, is it headed to mediation before a public meeting? I don't know. Is that the right word, mediation?
mediation could be a means to an agreement.
The judge can order mediation.
Yes, but if we do the public hearing and we're doing our due process, he's not going to go to mediation until that process has been.
But if we have nothing to present to the public, if we're saying, hey, and someone says, hey, what are we having a special meeting for?
So, one option that we could do with this is that we reach out to the water district by communication through our lawyer and take another thing saying we are looking to schedule a special meeting. We are requesting a meeting with the Tilton Northfield Water District to discuss that. And if not, then we schedule a public hearing for the original amount of 126. People are going to come. We'll have to go to a vote for it, a separate meeting, which now you're looking at a minimum of October. And I believe that you have to have 50% of the voting population present.
Yes, unless the judge declares otherwise.
Okay,
And he hasn't yet.
And that's
Right.
the registered voters in both towns.
in both towns, correct.
How many people is that?
Right.
A lot.
But that's what I'm getting at, so now you're looking at November, but we have to do these things, otherwise he could say go to mediation.
Yeah,
So our first step is we probably reach out to the Tilton Northfield Water District, see if they want to
via our
go
attorney.
through our attorney to see if they want to discuss it. Otherwise, then we hold a meeting and we do it for the original 126, and we've done our due diligence.
Or do we do it for less?
No, nope.
I don't think they're gonna go for it.
If they don't want to, if the Tilton Northfield Water District doesn't want to talk to us, I have no problem going on record that.
But is
we
it
will
for
go
a 5-year
126.
term or for a 1-year term?
I'll do it for 126 for the 1 year, because that's where we're in right now, and then we're going into the budget season. It would behoove them to come and talk to us.
It would be, yeah, but it'd be ideal for 5 years, because they gotta put in a treatment plan, which is gonna cost some money. So if you held them at the 5-year level,
That's what the original agreement was for.
yeah.
For 5 years at 126.
When they put that treatment in, I mean, the water's gonna,
That's $650. over
you're
5 years.
talking,
Yes, but it's not going to pass.
you're talking millions.
Again,
Correct.
we won't be able to get 50% of the population of the district, the
Correct.
registered voters.
Correct. But we're meeting, we're doing our due diligence. But you need two parties to come to the table for any communication.
I'd shoot for 5 years, though, because I'm telling you,
Okay.
they have no choice.
Okay.
They have to, there's a treatment going in.
If they're gonna
They don't
talk-
have a choice.
If they're gonna come to the table and talk with us, then we'll talk for the 5 years, but it probably won't be for 126.
Which, well, let me ask this question. Is it for 2021 or 2022?
When they come to the table, we can talk to. The special meeting right now is to
For this year, for
Right.
2020?
fix for this year.
Right.
That's all I'm worried about, is to fix for this year for the court requirement.
Then we're back in the.
Well, hopefully they'll come to the table and talk, and we'll have a little bit better deal than last time.
Guess we fire up the lawyer again. Spend a couple more thousand.
Problem. So,
In our budget, we also may want to look at more money set aside, like we did last time, non-lapsing for cisterns and dry hydrants
Yeah.
to
Let's
start
start.
impacting our own permanent water supply.
Yeah. Because that's not gonna happen overnight, it's gonna take 5 or 6 years to get a complete system built.
So we won't ever have a complete system.
No,
but
but I
you'll
mean,
just
just
have, you'll have some reservoirs, some reserve
Yeah,
water around.
My initial plans was to add one water source in each town per year, because a cistern is around $70,000 to $90,000 depending upon site work. A dry hydrant, which is very few locations for a dry hydrant. Some of them are, you know, a couple $1,000s to install. Some of them are not, are seasonal in their access and things like that, although we try not to put those in there. But some, like the one across the street on Cumbies, depending upon what the river level is, depending on we're going to get water out of it or not.
Yes, no.
Yeah, we get it now, right now, because the river is as high as I've seen it since I've moved here.
I think that that's something we have to look at in our budget season, is possibly increasing that amount a little bit to maybe do 2 per
Would
town.
you do a warrant article to establish that fund?
That would probably be a wise way
Just
to
like
do it.
you build a
Non-lapsing.
for, a town, they do for for roads,
Yeah.
equipment.
Yeah, and we just withdraw from that.
A capital reserve fund, I think
Yeah.
that's the right word.
I
It
think
is.
that's probably where we need to go, but,
Yeah.
and if the water district wants to come back to the table with discussion and reasonable rates,
Yeah.
then that gets us a little bit better.
Well, let's try to set up a meeting with them.
But we've shown that we're not as dependent on them as they are on us.
Ask for a meeting.
Yes.
Yeah. I know
Prior to us going to a public,
I know you can't walk across the street and ask them for a meeting, but we have to go get our attorney and.
And I'm sure the attorneys will want to be involved with the meeting as well, so.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching.
We're down the road, so.
I think I
Yeah.
told you, the only ones going to win, the attorneys.
Yep,
Yep.
well,
We've offered to go to the table.
we've sent several letters and we haven't had responses.
Yeah.
That they took their toys and went home and they're not coming out to talk to us.
Yeah.
Makes it difficult. All right,
Okay.
anything else on that? Clerk job description.
I have copies of the clerk's job description for you guys.
I got 2.
No, you're all set. You need another one, Kath?
Yes, thank you.
In case you didn't read it the first time. Okay.
Oh, okay, now I'm tracking.
Yes,
Okay. It took a minute for the,
for it to come back,
yes.
that's okay.
I need a refresher because I missed something.
This is from last month.
Yes.
Mhm.
All right.
So,
Should this be discussed in public or is it should be,
You can discuss the,
can't name
you
names?
can discuss the position,
right,
the job description, anything else.
yeah.
Right, okay.
Just 4 hours per day. Is it 5 days a week?
Yes.
Thank you.
This is what we had when we hired somebody.
Yes.
Okay.
So that's the,
And this needs to be changed, because some of it is not done and won't be done because of the auditors.
Right.
but not at the, because of outside influences, not because of.
Right.
Right. Pretty basic. Generic clerk with some specialty to the fire service.
And it's an hourly position
It is.
with no benefits,
No benefits.
you know, sick time.
No,
Okay.
All the time, no.
no.
Social Security, they have to pay that.
Yes.
Yeah.
But standard part-time.
Right. And if there's a holiday in a week, there's the opportunity to work extra hours to make up for it.
Okay. So they don't even get holidays, okay.
But they can come in, with the holidays on Monday, they can come in on Tuesday and work 8 hours. if they
Right.
want, or add an hour each day.
Add an
Right.
hour each day.
Add an
make
hour
up
each
that
day,
4.
right. They get the holiday off, but they're,
Not paid.
right, it's not paid, and they can work extra hours that week to compensate.
Yeah, so it kind of falls in line with a lot of part-time
Yeah.
positions. So where were we going with this?
You just wanted to review it.
Are there any changes that need to be made?
And the job description, yes.
Yeah, that's under my purveyance.
So are there any changes that need to be
We
made?
will be making some changes, but yes.
Okay.
For removal of positions or training to meet, removal of tasks or training to meet tasks?
Removal of
Removal
tasks.
of
Okay.
tasks.
All right. Yep. Okay.
I'd like to get like a copy with it read out, just to see what things are.
With the red strike throughs?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. I'm willing that I could, again, basic idea which ones that you would probably be doing already, just with the basic.
All right. Everyone all set on that?
I am for now until we see the strike throughs.
Yep.
The strike throughs or additions or
Yeah.
markups.
Changes,
The
whatever
markups.
changes there are.
The editing.
Correct.
So the chief takes out his red editing pen. If you're a teacher, that's a harsh color, they say. All right, next is review minutes of July 13th in the public session. Did everyone have a chance to review the minutes?
They're right there, I think. More trees I killed.
I read them.
I read them at
I
work.
read them. Yeah, sure, I read them. I just read them on my phone. I can't have any other emails on my computer. And my daughter hijacked my laptop charger, so I can't charge my
That's the worst. Chargers disappear.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I have a bucket of them on my desk at work, but none of them are for my computer.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes of July 13th, 2021, the public minutes as written.
Second that.
So. Motion is second. Any other discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. July 13th, 2021, non-public 1 and 2.
Paul, would you pass those to Eric? Eric, pass them to John. Pass it to Eric. And Paul, and Paul, that one's yours.
That was,
Thank you.
thank you. What was this one? Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. And that one was,
Okay. I'm comfortable with that.
oh, okay. So, I'll entertain a motion.
Let's That's the first one, and then there was a second part at the end of the day.
Yes.
Yep, two separate, do we have to do them separately or do we have to do them together?
However you want to do it. Just remember, if you're going to keep one of them sealed, do it separately. If you're not, you can do them
Separately,
together.
just to be on the safe side.
Sure. So we'll take, I'll take a motion on non-public session number 1.
I'll make a motion that we accept it as written. I'm perfectly fine with my name all over this place like that.
All right,
I'll second it.
motion and second, any other discussion? Say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Do we have to make a decision to seal these? So, of that one, right? Do we
Yes.
want to keep that one sealed, or do we want to unseal it?
I'm comfortable with the way it is. It was written very clearly, and there's no defamation of anyone.
No. So, is that a motion?
It is, to leave it as is. Actually, you only need to make a motion to seal it.
Just-
If
right.
no one made a motion, you
All right.
don't need to.
Right.
All right, then I'll give you that back. All right. And then, non-public session number 2.
I'm not going to accept the non-public minutes in page 2, or number 2,
Number 2.
I'll second it.
as written.
I'll second that motion. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 I will make a motion to seal this one because due to personnel easily identifiable based on the positions. It's not like we're talking about 10 people in a position.
Sure. I will second it. Any other discussion? All those in favor of sealing the minutes of non-public session number 2 say aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes. This shall remain sealed. All right, any other business sign manifests?
I already did that.
Signed into that, and now we have
Non-public.
non-public, oh, I have to read that.
It is actually no non-public.
Well, it says review
yeah.
disposition reports.
We don't have any.
Okay,
They didn't come in.
look at that,
That
our next
works.
meeting, our
We
next
already-
meeting is September
Which
7th
we
at
discussed already.
5:30.
Yes.
Be there, be square, right here, same place. Is there any other business to come before this board?
I'm comfortable.
The time being 7:48 PM, I would like to make a motion to adjourn.
Non-debatable.
Second.
Second, so discussions, all those in favor say aye. Aye. We are adjourned at 7:48 PM. Have a nice day. Do I hit the red one?
42.
No.
That's
Oh, there's 3 different,
I just hit stop?
the
like
other
those.
state.
This one would be the tower on Shed Road.
That's